Welcome to Ultimate Mario All-Stars, the series where I aim to complete every Mario game ever released. Since the first game is a well-known one, some of this may be familiar to you, so I'll start with the story of Mario's origin. The development of the first game, Donkey Kong, was led by Shigeru Miyamoto. As Nintendo was making video games throughout the 1970s, Miyamoto had the idea of creating a mascot character for all the games he worked on. Initially, this mascot character was designed to function with the limited pixels programmers had to work with at the time. Miyamoto wanted the character to be distinguished as a human and not a blob of shapes and colors, so he ended up with Mario's design, with overalls, gloves, a hat, etc. Leading up to his first game, Miyamoto named the character Mr. Video, so he could fit it in multiple settings, but he decided against it because it was unmemorable. Various sources also say the character's name was going to be Ao-san, which is Japanese for middle-aged man. The name Mario would be given to the character by someone from Nintendo of America, and it came from a meeting that was interrupted by the company's warehouse landlord, Mario Sagawi. The team thought it was a brilliant name to give the character, and Miyamoto must have liked it too. The name Jumpman was also given to the character before Nintendo of America came up with Mario. Although advertising flyers called him Little Mario, he was still called Jumpman on the instruction label on the American arcade cabinets. Since then, the character has been stuck with the name Mario. Now let's get into the first Mario game. Nintendo had low sales from their latest title, Radarscope, and they had warehouses full of unsold arcade cabinets they needed to get rid of. They had the idea of repurposing the cabinets into a new game, and the development leadership was given to Miyamoto, who was a lead artist at the time. Initially, the game was going to be based on Popeye the Sailor Man, and they had the mechanics for the game down, but they could not get the rights to use the characters. The team was then tasked with creating original characters for their new game. They decided to make an ape the antagonist, stealing the protagonist's damsel in distress. Previously, they made apes the antagonist in other arcade games. Maybe they really don't like monkeys. Miyamoto's mascot character, Mario, was the protagonist, and they named the ape Donkey Kong. The name was supposed to be a fun synonym for stubborn ape. The damsel was called Lady, but she later was named Pauline. The game was set to have Mario, a carpenter, chase down Donkey Kong for kidnapping Pauline. Donkey Kong makes his way to a construction site, then Mario makes his way up the rafters to knock down Donkey Kong and save his girlfriend. The gameplay itself is simple. Mario climbs up ladders, jumps over barrels, and knocks out sentient fireballs with his hammer. You know, normal stuff carpenters deal with. There are 4 different sections, or stages as the game calls them, that Mario can go through. The first one is the iconic structure of slanted platforms with rolling barrels. Stage 2 is a cement room where moving platforms move trays of cement into a fire to be solidified. The third stage features multiple small platforms and elevators Mario must use to get to Pauline as Donkey Kong throws down trampolines at Mario. For some reason. The last stage tasks Mario to pull 8 rivets to drop Donkey Kong and knock him out. Afterwards, Mario is reunited with Pauline. The game will repeat itself until the player loses all their lives. For my marathon, I went over 3 different arcade sets, the Japanese set, the US set, and a US hard mode set. In my intro video, I said I would not cover regional releases unless there's a significant difference between the versions, and that is the case here. The Japanese and US sets follow 2 different patterns of stages when the player makes a loop. The loops are determined whenever Mario completes stage 4. As for the differences, the Japanese set follows the simple pattern of playing stages 1, 2, 3, and 4 sequentially in every loop. As for the US set, the pattern is different. The first loop has stages 1 and 4. The second has stages 1, 3, and 4. Then it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then it's 1, 2, 1, 3, and 4. And finally it is 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, and 4 for every loop afterwards. Since the hard mode set is a US set, it follows the same pattern. For my completion metrics, I completed 2 loops of the Japanese set and 5 loops for the US sets. Since the hard mode set was just the US set with faster fireballs, I only played until I felt like stopping. So, how did I fare with the game? Despite me practicing the game for months, I still did not have the capacity to beat the US set's 5th loop with the standard 3 life setting. It does not help when you can only get 1 extra life each playthrough. I can get to loop 2 on the Japanese set and hard mode just fine, but loops 3 and 4 on the US set usually stop me before I could get to loop 5. Because this was technically allowed, I altered the cabinet's DIP switches to start me off with 6 lives instead. After a couple more hours, I finally beat Loop 5. I didn't feel like I achieved the victory the way it was intended, but I did not use any cheats and still completed the game, which is all that matters. For each game I cover, I would like to leave a brief review based on my experience with the game. This is in no way a review to objectify whether or not the game is good or bad, but I would like to at least personalize my experiences in this marathon. With my experience playing the Donkey Kong arcade game, I personally like the game's gameplay structure. It can form an addicting high-score chasing experience if played every so often. Since I treated the game with the completion goal instead of seeing how many points I could earn before getting a game over, the game became a slog to get through. During practice runs where I played the game out of boredom, it became more enjoyable to play since I wasn't worried about reaching a certain loop. Based on my experience, I would give the game a 6 out of 10. Not to say that I hate the game itself, but going for a completion metric gave me a sense of tedium whenever I played the game. I also will say this here in this video and not in future videos. I encourage you to subscribe. I understand that in today's YouTube landscape it means nothing, but it indicates to me early on in this series that you want to see more. If you are watching this when I have a huge following, I encourage you to watch more videos if this one or another interests you. These both imply that people want to see more of this series. I plan to keep this series as a hobby, so things will be based on how available I am in making a video or streaming more games in my own time. Since things are always spontaneous, I would highly encourage subscribing for the times I go live or upload the next installment to the series. Anyway, now that I said my piece, I will be working on the marathon when I can. I hope to see you next time, and have a super day!